transportation secretary, former McKinsey executive, child of Marxist scholar, the one and only Pete Buttigieg, who speaks 25 languages, sort of. He thinks that the solution to our infrastructure problem and funding the infrastructure is not in the gas tax, which is already problematic. It is in taxing drivers per mile.
What about a mileage-based tax?
So I think that shows a lot of promise. If we believe in that so-called user pays principle, a so-called vehicle miles traveled tax or mileage tax, whatever you want to call it, could be a way to do it.
Said also that a mileage tax showed, quote, a lot of promise as a way to help pay for the plan. That tax would charge people for how many miles they drive. Is that under consideration?
No, that's not part of the conversation about this infrastructure bill. So just want to make sure that's really clear. But you will be hearing a lot more details in the coming days about how we envision being able to fund this. And again, these are carefully thought through, responsible ideas that ultimately are going to be a win for the economy and need to be compared to the unaffordable cost of the status quo.
Okay, so something of a backtrack on that.
Oopsies. Thought it was a great idea last week. Got trolled on Twitter. Oopsie. I mean, this is our future president, guys. This is who it is. I like this. Actually, I can't wait. I can't wait for someone who is this effing inept at reading the room and like reading society and reading inequality to run for president again, because he's going to get dragged. Like, and same thing with, you know, others who have kind of come up to this neoliberal, like, we've appointed you class, because you're not tethered to the people. You don't hear what's happening on the ground. You're not feeling what's happening on the ground. If you have to hustle your way up, if you have to like oust Joe Crowley, if you have to oust the IDC, if you have to actually take on Lacey Clay, and you're part of that progressive force, you have a great sensibility of what is in the ether, what people need, what people are voting on, what people are paying attention to. He thought he could get away with this. And oopsies, he went on Twitter. Sorry, I hate him so much. Napoleon, what do you think?
I mean, it's funny how he said it's going to be a carefully thought through way of funding this. Yeah. And from the fact that the carefully thought through idea from a day ago is already being like changed. I mean, this guy's like a think tank baby, you know, and he's like, it's like he's so out of touch. It's just kind of it's cringy to just watch him squirm and try to get out of his own, you know, like talk, like pablums or whatever he gets on. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the money's dead. You just need to tax the people that, you know, have more money and tax people fairly. And it's obvious that taxing people on the road is a regressive tax that's going to be heavier on lower income people than the others. We all know this. So, you know, you use your creativity. I mean, it's pretty easy to find that solution.
How about we tax the Amazon, like UPS, Amazon, all these freight, whatever it is, the people who are driving down, you know, who are wrecking our roads. How about we tax, there's some, the automobile industry, who, maybe this isn't the best idea, but who are pushing automobiles on people, or, you know, the folks who, the developers who are saying, move to the suburbs. Let's just think of all the people who are making it so much more difficult.
And let's add that the infrastructure in America is like 50 years behind, like a lot of other countries. It's like, where's the high-speed railways? How do you get around? Like, just look at New York. Like, it's so clogged. It's like, it needs to be modernized in the first place.
Yeah. For folks who don't live in New York, I often play the game of what's faster to get to the place I need to go. Taking the subway, which could stall for 30 minutes in the middle of between like right four feet before the tracks, or getting in a car and spending $85 to get to my destination, or walking across a bridge for an hour and a half. Joshua, you had some traffic yesterday, right? You hit some traffic?
Yeah, just a little bit, but it was, you know, and I mean, we were talking about this yesterday about how in the Bay Area, we didn't used to have that much traffic until the advent of Uber and Lyft. And then also with the tech companies moving in, this wave of gentrification in the Bay Area meant that a lot of the folks coming in are people who have personal cars, whereas most of the folks before, we used to, you know, everybody took public transportation. And like, even that basic idea of like, you would think that any Democrat in this political environment becoming transportation secretary would have a couple baseline like lenses that they use to view things. And one is like, oh, public transportation is the thing that we want to incentivize and encourage. And the way to fund things, like Napoleon was saying, is through progressive taxation, not regressive taxation. And the fact that he doesn't even have those two basic lenses of focusing on individual car drivers, when still all of our infrastructure in the society is set up to incentivize people sitting in personal cars, which is not efficient or accessible or affordable in at least on the coast and in the cities. And if you're trying to go cross country, I know that in lots of, it's not like that everywhere, but it's just wild. I just don't even understand, sometimes you can look at a politician and understand where they got these, a certain idea. And with Buttigieg consistently, I'm just like, it's just like, huh? Like, are you an alien stuffed into a human's body? Like trying to figure out how, it's like he learned how to be human in a like from a textbook or something. Exactly. I just don't get where these ideas come from.
It's like, dude. Mackenzie taught me this. And what really infuriates me even more is transportation Joe Biden, Mr. Amtrak, which to be fair, he has committed to high speed railroads and funding the trains across America. But, aside from that, one of the conversations about the train system is we want high speed rails, but the railroads have not been upgraded to handle the high speed rails. So if you remember a few years ago, there was that huge, oh my goodness, I had friends that were on the train. The Acela from New York to DC went off because it was speeding, but not at a rate that was, everyone's like, that's fast. It was like 75 miles per hour instead of, don't quote me on this, whatever the speed limit was, because it took a turn and the railway couldn't handle it. So the amount of infrastructure repair we need, because you're sharing these railways with the freight trains, which are heavier, it's just a joke. It's like,
well, this is why we need a Green New Deal. I mean, this is why having a framework to understand rebuilding our infrastructure in a way that is both giving, revitalizing the economy by giving meaningful working class jobs that are union, that actually bring us towards a post-carbon future that doesn't rely on poisoning low-income communities and communities of color in order to extract energy, whether that's to power our vehicles or whether that's to power our homes. I mean, it's all there, there is a plan. It's called the Green New Deal.
I mean, the other way of saying it, if folks who take money from energy companies and oil and gas, maybe the other way of saying it is, how about we just create a new infrastructure and make it greener? I know that sounds silly, and union jobs, but maybe it should just be called union infrastructure deal. By the way, it's green and it eliminates we take the money from the oil and gas companies, but that's just hidden in maybe it's just a rebranding. I don't know. All right.
I got to change the name because Green New Deal scares too many people, apparently.
Apparently. Yeah. It should just be called, you get a job, you get a job, you get a job, and faster trains. Hire me.
Perfect. Yeah.
I'm available.
This is your new, comms consultant for the naming of bills.
Everybody wins deal, the environment, the people, you save time, et cetera, et cetera.
When I ran for office, we had to come up, it was a special election and it was a nonpartisan special election. You have to come up with your own party name. And so, there's all these rules about it. I was like, everyone loves Pizza Party.
This is a little bit of an aside, but as some folks know, part of my work for many years is I train activists in organizing, and often we'll do when we're in trainings activities that elicit power dynamics. And one of the favorite things is if you divide the room into two groups, and the first task is to pick a name for your group. Immediately all the power dynamics emerge if you give them 30 seconds to pick a name. And it's just so interesting to debrief how they decide a name, what they decide it based on, who gets to speak, who doesn't get to speak, how they and it's okay, now let's talk about how you're making decisions when you're building strategy. How are these same dynamics? But it's something as simple as pick a name, because people get so invested in having the right name for a thing, much more so than it is the substance of it any good.
No, it's true. I mean, even with our show, people say, oh, how creative, the Nomiki show. And I said, I was advised that if you want people to know what the show is, put your name in it. You know what? Yeah.
Michael was saying the same thing with the Michael Brooks show.
That's it. it's a brand. I mean, if you want to carry on the show to somebody else, you can always rebrand later. It's YouTube. It's not like it's MSNBC or something.
Thanks for watching and listening to The Nomiki Show. But remember to click like and subscribe on YouTube, and please share on social media. If you're not already a patron, please join us for as low as $5 a month on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show for early and special content. That investment makes a huge difference. We are not corporate media raking in the dough. It's really you guys that are keeping us going. So please consider being a patron. And to our current patrons, thank you so much. We are incredibly grateful to you. We also now have swag. So check us out on thenomikishow.com to get your mugs, your totes, and your stickers.